Hi, hello everybody, it's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. I hope you're having a wonderful day, the last day of August. I don't really know where this month went. I feel like it somehow just got away from me. Today I'm going to be sharing a reading wrap-up of the books I've been enjoying over the course of August. I don't feel like there are a ton of them because it was just a busy month, but I've also got a TBR of some fun books I'm planning to read in September. So let's jump into it. To start us off, I have a couple of Kindle books. The first one is by Elizabeth Cadell. It's called The Green Empress. I really enjoy Elizabeth Cadell's books. They're very British, very cozy. They always have like a little bit of a mystery element, which makes them interesting. The Green Empress was very unique because it's basically about this exclusive travel agency. The bus is the Green Empress, and it takes these like high-profile travelers across Spain, Portugal, and you get to hear like a little bit about the towns they're going through and the history of the places they're visiting. There is a nice little romance, although the one quarrel I have with Elizabeth Cadell, and she does this in other books too, is that at the end of the book, like the hero and the heroine always like have some fight, like something pulls them apart. And then they do get back together, but they get back together at like the last possible second. Like she almost ends the book like before they get back together, you know, like you really don't get to see any of the happy ending at all. It's just a little too abrupt for my taste. I like to have like a little slice of the happy ending, but it is still a really enjoyable story. I liked the mystery, I liked the characters. I do enjoy Elizabeth Cadell. This next book I haven't started yet, but I'm planning to get to it this month. It's called The Virginian, A Horseman of the Plains by Owen Wister. My mom actually heard about this book and really, really loved it. It's like a Western. I think it has to do with like cattle barons and stuff, but she said the writing was really, really good and it was an awesome story, so I can't wait to check it out. This book I mentioned in my last month TBR and reading wrap-up video. I also did an unboxing of it. I'll link those videos down below or up above if you haven't seen them yet. But oh my gosh, doesn't it have such a lovely cover? It's called Gardens of Awe and Folly, A Traveler's Journal on the Meaning of Life and Gardening by Vivians Book. It goes through 9 different gardens of the world. And it's full of these beautiful paintings and sketches, and it has all sorts of fun like little anecdotes, little like information about the plants. Some of these gardens I'd never heard of, like this Le Jardin Majorel in Marrakesh, and this one in London sounds so cool. What's it called? It's in Chelsea, the Chelsea Physic Garden. Apparently it was started like hundreds and hundreds of years ago as an apothecary kind of training garden. So there are some really, really fun sketches in here and stories in here. It's just a lovely sort of restful book. It is kind of inspiring too. I think my favorite one was actually the first one, which is the Ile de la Cité. It's by the Henri Quetelet statue, which I know from the book, oh my gosh, The Beloved Vagabond by William Locke. I'm sure I've walked by this garden, but I've never been in it, so next time I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. It's just this like tiny, tiny speck of a garden, but the way she describes it, she tells you about the people who planned the garden, about the different trees and plants in the garden. I like how she wishes she could live in this little hut in the garden, and she imagines how she would decorate it. So definitely lots of fun things in this book. There is, though, a little bit of a flavor, and I've noticed this before. I've also read When Wanderers Cease to Roam, which is another very similar, you know, lots of sketches book by Vivians Book. And I noticed this in this a little bit too. There's just a little bit of a sort of, gosh, how do you even describe it? Like almost sanctimonious tone. Kind of like the author knows best, and if you disagree with her, you're sort of just an idiot. It's a subtle kind of atmosphere almost to the book, but I really don't like it. Like, I don't like it when the author puts themselves up here and it's like everyone else is down there. Like, I'd rather, you know, we're all in it together. Yeah, and this is such a lovely book in so many other ways that like I feel like it kind of stood out more. It was like these little pinpricks that like just kept building up and up. Like sometimes when she talks about different authors or different like little things, she acts like she discovered them. You know, nobody else has ever heard of this word or this poet or whatever, and it's like, actually, most of the people who would be interested in this kind of book probably have already heard of that word or that poet. The first time I noticed it actually was when she makes some crack about how no adult would ever buy a Disney World t-shirt. And it's like, what, really? Like, okay, so you don't want a Disney t-shirt, but that doesn't mean that Nobody does. I do also kind of have to quarrel with her because these are 9 gardens. They're supposed to be from like all over the world, right? And 2 of them, I don't know if you can see that right there. It's Long Island Part 1 and Long Island Part 2. And I think she's from Long Island or lives on Long Island. It just seemed a little bit much. And one of the Long Island gardens she talks about is a Japanese inspired garden. At one point she mentions how it's not like a true, I think, stroll garden, and she's like, oh, true stroll gardens in Japan go for miles and miles and are meant to take you on a journey. And so it made me think, well wait, well then why aren't you talking about an actual Japanese garden? That would be more interesting than covering 2 Long Island gardens. But then she goes on to say that she doesn't actually like Japanese gardens. Japanese gardens are out. Anyway, a little bit of a weird kind of negativity, but overall a very pleasant book, and I'm sure I'll be dipping back into it. It's just beautiful to look at. I went used bookstore shopping this month, which is always a fun time because you never know what you're going to discover, and I got a few things. I did vlog it, but I haven't uploaded that vlog yet. Last week I did a fun video of some bookshops in St. Paul, Minnesota. My cousin Becky and I went shopping along Grand Avenue, and it was super, super fun. I actually got these books at the Brattle Bookshop in Boston, which was so, so cool. This one you can see the spine is like super, super weathered because it's actually on a cart outside. The sun got to it a little bit, but it's still a super fun book. It's called The Little Package. It's by Lawrence Clark Powell. Pages on Life, Literature, and Landscape from a Traveling Bookman's Baggage by the author of A Passion for Books. I hadn't heard of this before. I really love actually what you discover in used bookshops because, you know, you just walk along and kind of see what titles speak to you. And Lawrence Clark Powell, I guess, was a librarian and would give lots of like library talks. He has lots of fun ideas about libraries and also about books. I'm only a couple chapters into this, or I guess essays, because it isn't really chapters, it's like different essays, but I've really been enjoying it so far. I really like his writing style and all of his insights. This passage from the preface: I've gone everywhere with books in my baggage or in memory alone, and although these pages from my life at home and abroad were written for a variety of occasions and publications, their constant theme is of the rewards that come to the reading traveler, the traveling reader, of the riches that fill and overflow the heart and mind when one lives on a balanced diet of life, literature, and landscape. This was my other used bookstore find. It is the Sketchbook by Washington Irving. It's just a tiny little book, but it slips very easily into my purse no matter where I'm going. This, I think, is an account of Washington Irving's travels. I haven't gotten super far in it, but definitely looking forward to reading further. This last book I'm hoping to get to this month is called Drawn to Yellowstone, Artists in America's First National Park. It's by Peter H. Hasbeck. I actually stole this book from my dad. In my last reading wrap-up, I talked about a big road trip my family went on this summer. We went out west. We saw national parks like Yellowstone. My dad was reading this, I think, leading up to our trip, but then he was telling me about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. It's actually like a history of artists who have painted at Yellowstone and kind of how styles have developed and how capturing the national park has changed. So just lots of beautiful paintings, and should have some really interesting stuff in it too. So that's about it for the moment. I'm sure I'll collect some more books as we go through the month. September. How do we get to September? I know everyone says that, but it does seem kind of crazy. Like 2018 is right around the corner. Anyway, I hope you guys have been doing some great reading. As always, I'd love to hear about what books you've been enjoying down in the comments. I always get some fun ideas from you guys. Last month, I really wanted to start a book by Ayn Rand, which I did not get to, but I got some really good recommendations in the comments. So that I'm also hoping to get to in September. Give this video a thumbs up. If you're not yet, make sure you're subscribed. I hope you guys are having a magical and bookish day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!